Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Series 6 of Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours aims to record 1,000 loiners, that's people from Leeds, over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission here is to try to map out what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, did during humanity's biggest emergency. On Working Hours, we hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. Can we turn things around? We'll find out. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and tell me about what they do and let me record how this decade affects us. These are long-form interviews meant to challenge the short attention span content economy. That means they aren't always easy listening, but in my view, they are all worth listening to. They all tell us something about our guest, our city, and our time, not to mention something of what it's like to do that job and how someone got into that job. You're helping this project right now by being a listener, and I'd love for you to consider becoming a guest or a supporter of this project. Thank you for listening to this episode. What did you want to be when you grew up?
A writer. I wrote my first book when I was 3, and it was called Bunny's Ball, singular, not plural. And I cobbled it together with a few scraps of paper, probably about that big, and I gave it to my dad. Sellotape paper. To me, it was, Lord of the Rings. It was a great.
It's epic at that age, isn't it?
I felt a great sense of accomplishment. Gave it to my dad. And he gave it back to me about a year ago, and it's still intact. And it makes me very happy that, I've literally, all I've ever wanted to do is be a writer, and now I am one. So, yeah.
Cool. But has that spoiled my next question of what do you do now?
Potentially.
You're listening to Series 6, Episode 13, and to my guest, Claire Kenny. This is another Squadcast recording, recorded on the 18th of February 2025. Hello, colleagues. Claire Kenny is a company founder, writer, and content creator. She has 25 plus years of experience as a commercial copywriter and communications professional, with recent projects including editing a factual book on the history of Motown for an internationally known performer and copywriting for a major beauty brand. As a 40 plus influencer, Claire was a 2-time finalist in the Yorkshire Blog Awards and has been published in Woman and Home, the Yorkshire Post, and Yorkshire Life. She's also a columnist in the Yorkshire Times and Yorkshire Businesswoman magazine, and in her efforts to destigmatize loneliness and aloneness, Claire hosted a #Solo Saturday Instagram Live for 2 years. It didn't just run continuously for 2 years, and has also hosted her own radio show. When she isn't working, Claire is a very proud mum, rescue greyhound owner, and a reluctant gym goer. Right, let's do this. Episode 167 of Working Hours with Claire Kenny. So What is it you're doing now?
So what I do now is I have my own freelance writing business. So I am a copywriter by trade, but to be honest, you sort of naturally diversify into other areas. And I think the way things are going with the industry as well, you have to be one step ahead in terms of the diversification side. That's kind of happened organically to an extent where people come to me and ask me to do their PR. And I don't profess to be a, PR practitioner or PR professional, but I can do PR, and I'm discovering I'm getting really good results for clients who want coverage, not just coverage, but help with their personal brand. So one of the things I'm really good at, because I've been on my own journey as a writer when I launched my own blog from nothing in my 40s, is I've walked the talk and I've built it up from nothing, and been quite successful. I have a couple of columns now. I've been published in national publications, been a finalist in awards, different awards, etc. for bloggers. it's given me more confidence in that space. I've had to learn to be comfortable to take up space in my chosen field at quite a mature age, I suppose. Surprised how many women, particularly, who are incredibly successful in their field. It might be banking, it might be entrepreneurialism, it might be any profession, to be honest, how reluctant they are to take up that space and be really confident and shake off that imposter syndrome. And that's one of my great passions about my work. So yes, I'm a copywriter, but I'm so much more. I'm a PR. I do general communication support for corporations, and everything in between.
So are you targeting businesses of sort of all sizes, or are you specialising in a particular niche, or how have you approached it?
I never. The advice is always niche down, both as a blogger and as a business owner, and I just reject that. As a blogger, because you're marketing yourself, so I've naturally settled into probably 3 or 4 key niches. But with business, I often say networking events, my tagline should be, I will write anything for money, but kind of underselling myself a bit. But you can't afford to be too selective, in my opinion. And two, it's all about the variety. Like I'm obsessed with what I do. And I think a big reason for that is because on Monday I could be PRing a new film, which is my latest client, a new Yorkshire comedy. On Wednesday I could be writing a comm strategy for a recruitment consultancy, and anything in between. So what is not to love about that? I guess if the niche happened naturally, then yeah, great. But I'm quite a big believer in don't force it, just follow where the clients are and follow your passion.
Yeah, I mean, because this might take it off in a bit of a strange direction already, but you're you've already got practice that you're practiced in, and then you're going into new fields in this area, and then you're seeing what's available, I guess. So you any opening is something to explore. And then after, a few years of doing that, you might get to the point where you're a bit like, do you know what? Those not so much anymore. These ones more. And then it might sort of naturally specialize. But at the moment, you're taking a specialism and applying it broadly. Is that sort of fair?
Yeah, the specialism doesn't change. The specialism is about empowering people to communicate. It's about helping them communicate, and it's about filling a skills gap for them, regardless of what industry you're in. And I think I should probably add to that as well. Been in communications for over 25 years. Specialism has always been writing, I think it's fair to say, but I've written for companies that sell grit bins and office consumables, right through working in the NHS throughout the pandemic as a comms lead there. And again, everything in between. So I'm really well placed for that diversity and to apply my skills to different clients.
And the flexibility as well, because you are already used to the sort of quick pivot, quick turnaround. I need to understand this sector and this product or this market quickly.
Yeah.
What are the key points that I need to be looking at here? What are the further research that I need to do?
Yeah.
And then just let's go with the things that I know how to do.
Let's just do it. Let's just provide you with some awesome messaging and any kind of peripheral support around that to enable you to succeed as an individual or as a business.
So are you, is it, I mean, obviously this might come up more in COVID, but are you very much client-based? Are you very face-to-face? Is your work a lot of, is the work coming to you? Are you out looking for the work? Is it a bit of a mix? And is it client-facing and you have to meet them and then you go away and you do all the work on your own? Or is it like, how do you, I guess, I mean, it depends on the client as well, but what's your sort of typical kind of routine with it, I guess?
To be honest, well, for the first 6 months, I did it alongside of my full-time job in the NHS for the first 6 months before I took the leap. And I'm excited to talk about that. I love talking about taking the leap. I didn't have to go out and market myself, really. My clients kind of came to me, but because I've been in the industry, well, in the not any set industry, because I've been writing professionally for such a long time, I'd built up a really good network. And I did go out and consciously and intentionally network, and I still do. But what I've found is historic connections have been, or even sort of friends or associates have been the ones to come forward and say, can you help me with this? I hear you've gone freelance. And it's just recommendations on the back of that. Now, for the first probably 6 months, was this almost seems too good to be true. And people would say, keep promoting yourself, because the clients might dry up. And before Christmas, my biggest client, who was a recommendation of someone I used to work with, I kind of lost them, although they're coming back on board with me now. And it was very scary, because that was a retainer client, and it was, very lucrative client. And that was a bit of a wake-up call. So I think I'm making more of an effort now to keep that pipeline, really robust and vibrant, and not rest on my laurels. But even so, I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom, particularly on LinkedIn at the moment, about AI, for example. But I'm a massive hippie, and I genuinely think if you're good at what you do, you put really good energy out there, you've got a good reputation, and you work really hard to get those opportunities, you do get them. And I feel really, really positive. Probably sound massively naive, I think, as a business owner, but that's how I feel.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there is a level at which there is enough for everyone, but it's the finding it. It's the distribution that's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I get into those areas?
Yeah.
And like you say, if you're initially working off word of mouth, I mean, that's really good. But then now I have to market. Now I have to get out into a wider circle. But so long as you can get those people to keep, give you the good testimonials, then that helps you push out wider.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of diversification as well. You've always got a pool of warm leads to draw upon. Whereas if I'd been completely niched down for the first 6 months, I'd be screwed potentially.
Yeah.
So,
because people would just think of you as that one thing. That's like, oh, Claire does that. Well, she's not going to do this because she does that. So why would she do this, even though it's similar, but she does that? Which
brings me back to my strapline. I'll write anything for money.
So let's do you've alluded to a little bit of it. Let's do how did you get into it? So how did you get into this?
So I had a bit of not a midlife crisis, what would I describe it? Epiphany, maybe, in my early 40s, where I just felt like something was missing. So I had a really good corporate job in the NHS, and I loved my job. But I felt like my life was a bit potentially lacking in other areas. I'd just got divorced, and it was just a bit of a time to reevaluate everything. And because of the way I've been brought up, I think, and my puritanical work ethic, I went straight to, I'll try and earn some more money doing something I love. So I'll start writing. And I'd always written in my private life anyway. When I'm going through something, I tend to write about it. It's my way of processing things. It's a fantastic tool. And anyone obviously can do that, journaling and such like. But I thought, what if I could do that for individual people? So I originally set up, I wrote my website, and it was called The Ghostwriter. And I can't remember if I started writing blogs for other people, but they were ghost written. I didn't want to put my name to them because I was scared. Some stuff's quite personal. And then that kind of morphed. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I thought, how do I bring this to fruition? I didn't know quite how to execute it. And then just obviously kept working in my corporate role, which took up a lot of my time. Started looking at other areas in which I wanted to improve and sort of enrich my life. And I would say it was probably 2 years after that I actually launched Write For You, which is now, the name of my business. And it was after reading a book, again, Denise Duffield Thomas, I think it was by, and I can't remember the title of the book, but it inspired me that much that within, I don't know, about an hour of writing it, I'd secured my domain name and started writing the iteration of my website that's live now. And I was off. I was a woman possessed. And I've never looked back, to be honest.
So was there was it, like you say, you just sort of set off and went, and it wasn't so much a taking a plunge, it was just like, oh, this is happening now. Like, I'm doing this now.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't this. The plunge was highly desirable. That scenario of thinking, yay, I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going to jack in my well-paid corporate job with secure pension. No, that obviously, I'm a single parent. I couldn't do that. But I thought, well, you've got to start somewhere. Don't be all or nothing. Just start in the best way you know how.
Yeah.
And I again, the old hippie coming in, but sort of bit of serendipity came into play where I have one of my clients runs a writer's retreat, and she used to invite me along to the writer's retreats, if there was a space there. And I was on one of the writer's retreats, and we got chatting, and I said, hang on a minute, because she didn't have the time to do social media or much marketing. So I said, why don't you let me help you for free? And I can kind of say, from an exterior perspective, wow, look, I've got my first client. If you like it, take me on as a client. If you don't, well, at least I've helped you, and it's helped me with the perception of my freelance venture. And I started doing it. She liked it, and that she became, one of my best clients, to be honest. And I'm now working with her on a new screenplay to market the PR, a film that she's written, which is I can't really say much about it at the moment, but it's really exciting. So that's how it started.
So that's again taking you in a new direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. I wish I could tell you more, but I'm going for a coffee with a very, very well-known Grammy. I mean, this is crazy. Me sitting in a corner of my living room near Wakefield, and I'm going for a coffee with a Grammy award-winning music producer in a few weeks' time, who's doing the score for this film. It's like, what? But that's your reward when you follow this thing that you can't stop thinking about and feeling. Who knows where it leads you?
Yeah. Well, you don't. That's the thing, which is exciting and scary.
Yeah, in equal measure, definitely. Yeah.
So we've kind of. I'm just thinking where I want to go with it. So, if you've always written in your roles and in your jobs, what was sort of your first job? What did you? I mean, did you just take anything initially? Were you always quite lucky in that regard, in that you were in areas that you were interested in, or were you just like first thing was, I don't know, waitressing or whatever, and then you?
I mean, going way back to my first.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was sort of your entry into work?
Yeah, so I've got this monster work ethic, and that's thanks to my dad. My dad he came out of he's from a very far from privileged background, South Leeds lad, and he used to say to me while I was growing up, all my friends are dead. Most of my friends, it was that deprived, and I watched my dad as a kid claw us out of what could have been. I'm not saying that I was impacted by that, but thanks to my dad, I grew up and had a really lovely childhood where I had anything I wanted. But I know the situation that my dad came from, and the way that he got himself out of that was work. And he started work full time at 15, and he never stopped. He just never stopped working, and work is everything, and that's a massive part of my identity. And because I didn't go to university, it never really occurred to me that I should, to be honest. I've had to sort of do everything off my own bat, if that's the correct terminology. And I've always been surrounded by other people who had, or it felt like, and this is my imposter syndrome that's always been very prevalent, felt like everyone else had the university education, felt like everyone else talked posh, especially the civil service, which is where I ended up. And it's been a hang up. I don't mind admitting. Anyway, I've gone off on a massive tangent there. But in terms of where I started in work, I think what I'm trying to say is I've always had to work. It was never up for question, because that's my learned behaviour, that you work. As soon as you can, you work. First job paper round, used to write lines for people at school and charge them. There's like 10 or something, little side hustle there. And then I ended up working in a call centre. So every Saturday I was at school. Started when I was 15. I was at school Monday to Friday, and then I worked in a call centre every Saturday and Sunday. I think it was every Saturday at first because I was young. And then as I got older, I started working there 2 days a week, working there in the holidays. So that was my sort of entry into work, and I hated it. I hated working in the call centre. I got bullied by the manager. She was awful. But it was good money, and I loved the money. So, yeah.
Yeah. You put up with a lot, don't you, when you're...
Well, it doesn't occur to you when you're young that you there's another way. You wouldn't dare say anything. You're just a casual weekend worker.
But you've got other stuff going on in your life as well, and you're like you say, I like the money, and it's like I'm going to put up with this that I don't like for a bit because it gives me all this that I can do, which I do like.
Exactly, means to an end.
Yeah. Were you never? So you were never tempted to kind of go into FE as a mature student or anything? You were never like, do you know what? I'm going to go do a degree and I'm going to show these people.
I toyed with the idea of doing an open university degree in English literature when I was in my 20s, but I've always loved working. I just wanted to get stuck in. And I think if I'd gone to university, I don't know if it... Look, obviously we live life forwards, don't we? Understand it backwards. A wonderful man I used to work with called Peter Homer used to use that saying all the time. And it's very true. And I think I look back now and I think you didn't need to go to university. It wouldn't have added anything. You know, I know lots of people who did biology and they're working in comms. So I think if you've got that, hold that vision, know what you want to do. It's harder if you don't go to university from a personal perspective, because you do get that imposter syndrome. And I don't know if nowadays for younger people, the degree is a non-negotiable. I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, the thing is, because of the expense, and like you say, it's you know, time was, you know, even when. So I remember looking at jobs in Leeds in the 90s, and the amount of jobs that they were just like, they were entry level crap, and they were like, you know, must be degree educated or to a level. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? You're not doing anything complex, and you're not actually progressing anyone through these positions. So especially now.
Yeah.
So now you've just got people with, you know, degrees and higher degree, like bachelors and higher, in jobs that are just basic jobs. Like, why? So why did I spend all this money? Why did I spend all that time? Why did I, you know, learn? I mean, you got to do it for yourself, I think, at this point. But if you could do it without being saddled with loads and loads of debt, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But I would recommend it because it's fun. It's really, really interesting and really like opens lots of doors and stuff.
Yeah. I went to Australia for a year instead, which did absolutely zero to further my career.
You did what? Sorry.
I went to Australia for a year instead. But I mean, that did not enhance my career in any way whatsoever.
I mean, it broadened your horizons, I guess. You know, you got to see things a different way. Yeah. How did you I guess you did the working visa?
Oh God, I can't even remember. It was about 1 million years ago.
Well, did you work there?
I didn't work out there. I was in a call centre. I was selling for charities. It was awful. And I remember doing a door-to-door selling job, selling to factories, selling crap toys to factories. I mean, character building. You had to be there at 5 a.m. every morning. And, oh, God, and we had to do this hacker in the warehouse, like the offices, before we set out selling our wares in 18 million degree heat. We had to do this hacker where we were all like, rah, I will sell. And oh God, I wanted to die every morning. I just wanted to die. It was awful. But, you do it, don't you? And I did all right. And like I said, character building. If you can do it, you can certainly sit and write a press release or edit a novel.
Yeah, true. So I'm going to take us into questions now. So I'm going to start us off with COVID, because it's the big recent thing, I guess. So, and obviously your business is kind of germinating and generated out of that from what you've said so far.
Yeah.
So generally I'm looking at your kind of experience going into the lockdown. How was that for you? Was it sort of work shutting off? Was it working all hours? Was it same old? Or another experience? And then they're coming out of it. What are the sort of lasting changes? Did anything kind of change permanently for you? Obviously, the answer there is yes in this case. But yeah, just take us through the sort of, how was that experience going in and then coming out of the lockdown?
Oh, wow, lockdown. Lockdown was the most, I know it was obviously a horrendous situation, like the highest level, but in terms of my career, magic happened in lockdown for my career. One, it shifted my imposter syndrome because you had no opportunity to sit and reflect on anything. You just had to get on. So, but basically, I worked in the NHS during lockdown, and I even remember the day where we had to go home from the office because people were like, "We'll have to go home. We can't be here anymore." And I put my sort of, not name in the hat, but I got in touch with a guy I knew who worked nationally and said, how can I help? Because I worked in a little pocket of the NHS, and nobody was sort of putting their hands up and saying anything. I thought, I want to be part of the effort. So first job I was given to do was to write the homepage for the Bringing Staff Back website. And I remember getting a phone call from Rory, the guy who sort of commissioned me to do that work, and he said it's had 9,000 hits in the first, I can't remember what the time period was, but it was less than a day. And I was on my own with my daughter, but I lived on my own with my daughter, and everything felt so surreal, and I was panicking a little bit about what will happen if I can't go out, can't get food for me and my daughter, whatever. And I remember going to stand on the end of my mum and dad's drive because they lived over the road, and I cried. I went and said, Dad, it's had 9,000 hits. What I wrote, what I wrote, and I cried. It was just felt so surreal and so massive. What was happening, unprecedented. Words we all overused as communicators during that time. But basically, working in the NHS in communications was just, you woke up on a morning. You grabbed your laptop, you switched it on, you started work, didn't even necessarily get dressed. You worked until 11 at night sometimes, went back to sleep again, did it all again, and we did that for days. No day off or anything like that. It was just intense. But I came alive. I just came alive, and I got noticed by someone on the exec team working in NHS England, and I kind of got that poison chalice, felt like a poison chalice at the time, of giving her social media account to run, because she was so busy doing operational matters. She needed some support. And I remember that tumbleweed moment in a meeting where somebody said, who's going to take on a social media account? And I thought, can I swear or not?
On here, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just thought, oh shit. I can't do that because I wasn't really on social media at that time. Of course, it came to me, and that was the making of me. And we came to this place where we worked that closely together. I was like her ghostwriter in a lot of ways. I helped her with speeches. I helped her with lines to take, messaging. I was an advocate for her when she came up against discrimination, quite frankly. And I just became obsessed with what I was doing, because there's nothing like being connected to that kind of moral imperative or that crisis communications to make work very stressful but very fulfilling as well. And over that course of whatever period of time it was, I just felt really creative. I felt really alive. Emotions were obviously running high, but got rid of any imposter syndrome I had and made me realise just what I was capable of.
I'm going straight away to meaning here. So, I mean, it strikes me that obviously you're given an opportunity and you're given people who are actually believing in you, in something that you want to do. That all sounds really encouraging and good. But it's also that here's something that I can help with that other people aren't, you know, it gave you that opportunity to step up.
Yeah.
And, but by the same token, because it was about something important, it was like, this is, you know, as you said yourself, unprecedented, like within our lifetimes. I mean, there's no one alive really from, you know, the Spanish flu. So you're like, yeah, this is important. Someone's got to do it. So you're ticking that, you know, like you mentioned before, you're kind of like, I'm drifting around, but there's not really the meaning, and that crisis of meaning is sort of coming into focus there. And you're given some purpose with the role, like, and a relationship between what you're doing and what you do and what you're doing, if that makes sense, because so many roles are kind of like, you do this and you're part of this, but what you actually do is sit at a computer and look at various internet tabs. So yeah.
No, it was a massive values driven, purpose driven period, and I became sort of addicted to it. You know, I was knackered, but I just loved it. I loved getting up every morning thinking, right, what have we got to sort out today? How can I make a difference today? But also because I knew there was, again, the moral imperative of it was the fact that staff in the NHS were not potentially being treated on the ground as well as they felt they could have been. So there were factors around inclusion. There were factors around staff whose English might not be their first language, disenfranchised staff we couldn't reach because they didn't have a computer or a phone that was plugged into all the comms. And we were hearing stories from their advocates and their representatives, and that was one of the main things that we worked very closely on and we were very aligned on, is everybody needs to feel looked after here. So how can we make that happen? There were really emotional days, some days where we heard awful stories, days where we were in tears together, and it just made it all very heady but very, just a really powerful period.
And you know, there's nothing better in a crisis than having a role, like, you know, to perform, like, this has got to get done and I'm doing this and I got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, so coming out, I mean, was that, you sort of got involved, you got more involved, and then I guess sort of more involved, and I'm guessing you're taking on more and more responsibility. So is there a breaking point there, or is there a kind of like, actually, or is it more of a realization? I suppose you've kind of told this story already with the reading the book and so on, but did it sort of feel like it was building up to a breaking point there, or was it more of it's building to a breakthrough rather than a breakdown?
There were different high points and low points. I think there was a breaking point. I can't remember exactly how long it took for me to get there, but I remember when you are good at what you do and when you've got that can-do attitude, word gets around. And I remember getting an opportunity to do a secondment, and it was a real step up. Not in terms of pay, just in terms of what I was being asked to do. So I moved into that, but I kept getting asked to do the old stuff as well. And I didn't want to say no because I was so emotionally tied into the old stuff that I'd been doing, and I knew how important it was. But I got to a point where I was being asked by so many people to do so many things. it was a physical meltdown, I guess. I started getting pains in my chest, panicking, and feeling like I was losing control a little bit, slipping away a little bit from my usual kind of, right, what's today got in store, let's do it. It wasn't good. So I just...
Was there any rest or sleep in that? Were you losing sleep and also like, you're giving up sleep, but also losing it when you tried to sleep, sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm not saying that I wasn't, oh God, they worked me that hard, I wasn't allowed to sleep.
No, but it's one of those things as well. It's like if you make yourself available and people want that availability, they don't know what capacity you're running that at. And if you haven't got those boundaries or you haven't had to set them before, it's not easy to just go, actually, I can't do that, because you want to go, I can do that. But you have to kind of learn, I can't do everything and I can't be everywhere. And maybe I need some help, and maybe you do need to give me staff and all of those kind of things. Because your mindset is like, get on with it, not how do we do this? You're not, your work training is not, right, we need to sit down, strategize, build this out for yourself. It's to do that for the firm or the organization.
Yeah. I think there was always protected time to sleep or to have a walk or whatever. And it is a good employer, a very good employer from that perspective. But I think it was me laying in bed. I remember waking up one morning at 3 a.m. and I just started working because I thought, well, I might as well, and it gets me ahead of the game for tomorrow. I thought, nah, this isn't the way to survive this. So I just had to but you just communicate. I just had to have some honest conversations with people and say, I can't do this. I just can't keep up with it. And it was fine. But I think I let myself get into that situation because I knew how busy everyone else was. And I was seeing other people around me melting down or burning out because they were so busy. But, what are you going to do? You've got a national crisis and there are people dying. You go for as long as you possibly can, but then you do realise, well, I'm no use to anyone if I'm knackered and having chest pains and thinking I'm going to have a bloody panic attack all the time. Yeah. And that's not me, that's just not me at all.
Well, you think about the First World War. I mean, it wasn't afforded to everyone, but there were plenty of people who were pulled off, the front line, like officers and stuff, but pulled off and given sort of like, you need some time away from this.
Yeah.
And, so it is a kind of, you should, and you don't want to deplete all your forces either, do you? So you should have a level of, not necessarily churn, but you be able to swap people out and kind of, so you're not losing all your talent and your knowledge.
And I think eventually everybody settled into a rhythm where, you had a day off, or you had, or you had a buddy who you could talk to if you were feeling particularly overwhelmed. But it was just that initial part where nobody knew what the hell was going on, and you just did whatever you could to help the cause.
Or what to do, that was a key thing, wasn't it? I mean, and I've come back to this a lot of times, but if you remember in those first few weeks, like first few days particularly when the lockdown happened, and if you were to go outside, you're going anywhere, and you'd walk past people, and people would avoid eye contact, they wouldn't speak to you, nobody... Because we didn't know how to be, and then like about a week later, people had started saying hello to each other and kind of going, hello, this is... we're all still here and we're talking to each other, and it's, it changed the attitude and the behaviour as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I lived over the road from my parents, and I just refused. I'm always talking about my dad. I do have a mum as well. But I refused to give my dad a hug, and he kept trying to like, come on, you need a hug. No. I was so strict because I was hearing all these awful stories from the front line, and but as a human being, especially one living, as a single parent living with my daughter, you don't know what to do necessarily, as you say. It was very, very surreal.
Yeah. So the coming out of it side, I mean, did you Do you feel like you emerged freshly in this new business out the other side, or was that?
No, the business didn't really happen for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, the timings are a little bit confused now.
Oh God, those years just blend into one, don't they? It's
Yeah, they
just like a
do.
mush.
They really do. But I think it was maybe a few years after. Was it? I can't remember, but the ideas started being formed, and I thought, hang on a minute, I'm capable of doing some pretty good work here. I can make this maybe work in my favour, especially the speech writing, the coaching, buoying people up, helping them be more resilient, creating a safe space for people who were operating in often quite hostile environments. I loved that side of it, and I thought, gosh, I wonder if I could replicate this sort of way of being, this model for work with other clients. And so I suppose that's when the idea was formed. And then, yeah, within a few years, I'd kind of launched my business.
So there's a question here that I'm trying to get to in terms of, I guess. Well, I suppose the lazy way into this is kind of the work from home thing. Like, were you still very office based? Were you still like
No,
they wanted you in? You went to a building, so you did make that kind of change. Were you working remotely a bit beforehand?
not
Because
really.
right,
We
okay,
could work from home. I think it was once a fortnight or sometimes once a week. But oh God, those were amazing days when I first started working in the NHS. It was in the NHS Leadership Academy, and it was just that utopia. You can't go back. It's like I don't know, just a really lovely period of your life that is over, and you probably won't see it again. We had the best colleagues, best teams. We had a great laugh at work, but we did great work as well. Fantastic social life. So I loved being in the office, and it was the making of me actually, because I'd just come out of my marriage and I was starting to get back on my feet, and it was just what I needed. And I made friends that I've lifelong friends. I'm still great friends with now. So it was good being in the office. But now I look back and I think, how did I do that? How did I go and do that every day? And not be there for my dog, and not be here to do, all the mundane housey tasks that you do between calls or whatever. But yeah, in the pandemic, we were just at home. I think the only people who were in the office every day were the press office. But yeah, we were just at home. We were all dotted around the country anyway, so it kind of didn't matter where we were.
I'm going to ask you this question. I mean, it doesn't really fit in here, but it's just occurred to me, so I'm going to ask it. I'm thinking about writer's block. So do you have any difficulty with, I mean, obviously words are your trade and writing and so on, but do you have any difficulty with it? Or do you have a method of just like, we just start and we'll put anything on this and then and then there's something and then we can go from there? Or are you very much like, I'm finding, you have an idea of the vision, but you're kind of finding a way to chip all that away to get to the pure message of doing it? Like what, or is it a mix of like, what's the process for the words, I guess?
I don't get writer's block. I never have. But I think part of it is just start. So just start, get something down. It's much easier to edit something that you've already written than it is to start, I think.
Or even throw it away entirely, because it's like, well, at least that's done now. I know that's a no good idea, so that's gone. So now the next one.
Yeah. I mean, one of the real tricks that I use, I should share all my business tricks, but I use a transcription app, and I just speak it. So if I've got, and what that gives you is a framework to build upon. And my biggest rule is write how you talk. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to write is they seem to think that they need to sound like some university professor or
their teacher. That's what we're going for. We're going for our teacher. We're trying to sound like a teacher. It's teacher voice. It's this sort of imagined objectivity. That's what I think it is anyway.
Yeah, it's also this belief that in order to be credible, your work has to break some sort of a vocabulary smash some vocab ceiling, which is completely not true. I'm not interested in reading something, that's almost like a Wordle game of, look how many words I could use. No, just write how you talk. It's really simple. But we just seem to have this reluctance to do that. We seem to feel like we have to be someone we're not when we're writing. And that's one of the simplest secrets to writing, I think. Write how you talk.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, so with this, for example, when you're doing something, like people are sort of finding your voice and stuff, and it's that, and you practice, like you're being yourself, but you're also kind of practicing being yourself, if that makes sense. And you're kind of second guessing yourself. Like, I feel I've got to a point with, like, I don't feel like I was putting something on before necessarily, but I do feel that I've kind of come round in a circle back to just being like, well, I don't know. It's a really weird thing to describe because it's not like there's a process there, and I don't feel like I've done anything different, but I feel like I'm being more myself now by not trying to be myself, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
That's a profound thing that you've just stumbled on, because I agree. And I don't think it's just in your craft either. Like, I probably used to maybe write over formally, feeling like I had to overcompensate or show off. Oh, look at me, I do know these words. I am a bona fide writer. But I think you go through that arc as an individual as well. So I used to talk in a way that, when I was in certain environments, I was conscious of my accent. I might have behaved in a different way. I might have been a bit more uptight and less relaxed. And but I think that when you're younger, you just soak up the atmosphere around you, and you think, well, I need to be like the other people. I need to be like them. And I think as you get older, I'm 49 now. You just start to realise you're all right as you are, and you're good at what you do. And actually, your uniqueness is the fact that that's your selling point, that you're you. And that's quite a profound thing to realise. I just wish I could have realised it sooner, but you don't. That's life, isn't it?
But it's also your worth. Like when you're younger, you're full of the ego of how great you are and everyone just needs to see it. But also there's the kind of, I have lots to say, but I don't really, because I don't necessarily have the experience that undergirds it. And as you get older, you're kind of like, well, this is non-valuable. But then you're kind of, you have that realization that actually I've got decades of life experience and that is inherently valuable. Like, I've lived this long. That's inherently valuable. There is knowledge there to pass on and so on.
Yeah. And I think for me, my life experience of starting again, I guess, in my 40s, which is what I did, creating this business, creating my blog, where I started sharing the writing that I've been doing for years. It's quite a powerful thing, and it does help you realise that you are in a position to do great things and to help other people and have an impact as well.
So one of the things that I've realised in many ways, and especially with a job, like a role working for someone else, is how much it actually, because there's lots of ways in which it opens doors and opens the world to you in different areas and people, but there's lots of ways it closes it down. And especially as you get older, you kind of realise, like, your social circles change, people have gone, other people are kind of around, and you're kind of like, how do I get access to more people now? Your access to people seems to get, I mean, maybe different for you, but like for me, it's definitely felt like I have less access to people now because you don't go out as much, and you know more what you like and what you can stand, so you're a bit less adventurous in some things, and all those kind of factors sort of play in. But that need to, especially if you're a city dweller, it's like, I need to meet new people. I need fresh voices and ideas, and I need to try different things, and it's all of that comes into it. I think. I mean, it does for me. It did.
1,000,000%. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And again, I don't know if that's one of the reasons I started the business, the blog, and I looked at all the areas of my life that things felt a bit empty, and I just started really. It was almost like a project, got an intentional project. What do I enjoy? And actually, this is something I've written about. I didn't even know what I enjoyed. I've got an aura around me because of the light coming through. I didn't even know what I enjoyed. And I wrote in a blog and I said it was like doing a treasure hunt with the shittest map ever, because I didn't know where to start. I've been married I've been with my ex-husband for 16 years, I think. I'd always been a wife, forever. Had my daughter, but who was I? And that's the biggest journey of discovery I've been on. So you just try different things, and you think, I need a connection to someone. I don't just want to sit in my house when my daughter's gone to bed and watch the TV. What do I do? How do I approach this? It's really difficult, but you just have to be persistent, and it pays off. And now I've got a life I could never have dreamed of. I'm not saying I'm, getting picked up in a limo in an hour and going off to LA or whatever. Obviously not.
No, but it's not about that, is it?
But I love my life.
Well, yeah, like you say, you kind of are.
Well, you know how it is. It's how I roll now. No. But I just wake up happy and I wake up excited. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of follow your bliss thing, but it's also, that is the process of discovery. Like, so much more than it. Like you must have heard he's gone off to find himself, or they've gone off to find themselves. And, when you're little and you're just like, that's the stupidest thing ever. Yeah. And then you do it. And
you become that cliche yourself. Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I didn't find anything. There was just me and I was there all the time. But I think that's a process that you actually go through when you're a bit older and you're kind of like, well, I've been all these people for all these other people. So who am I for me? And who does that, and how does that sort of engage with the world? How does me being more me and actually me, where do I fit then? Do I fit better? And I think the answer is yes to that.
I mean, my life is just a succession. My decision-making strategies, my approach to life, it's just like a succession of fridge magnets. Sayings on fridge magnets, but they're all true. Follow your breadcrumbs, your heart and your gut. I believe it all. I completely believe it all. It's paid off for me time and time again. So I'll own that.
Cool. So I'm going to do Brexit now, which could be just impossible for you, because the other thing with Brexit is it's happening around this time of COVID and so on. But you've been, and you don't really have a before and after with this. But I'm going to ask the question anyway. Has Brexit changed your work at all in any way that you notice? Does it occur in your work? Is it something that?
No, I mean, I guess politically, I'm quite insular from a lot of the events that are happening. I have to try to keep my mindset strong and not let the impending doom I sometimes feel in the face of recent political developments not get into my head too much. But on a practical level, no, it hasn't really. Because I work on my own. I went through a phase where I said yes to everything, so I started outsourcing the odd thing to a graduate who needed some work experience. But I stopped doing that. I just like to work on my own. I'm happy being part of a team, but I've got no interest in setting up an agency model or anything like that. I just work under my own steam, so I don't tend to get affected by things like that.
Are you kind of a holistic worker? Like, I get the sense that you prefer to work on like an entire piece of work, an entire project, sort of end to end, rather than be sort of dropped in and kind of patch this, fix this, do a bit of that. Is that fair, or?
No, I quite like the patch this.
Okay.
We're in crisis. Can you sort this out? Can you polish this turd? Yes, I can. I love that.
So it's more of a roll your sleeves up, right? Watch, stand back, hold me pint. I'm gonna.
Yeah. Yes, either.
Yeah.
I don't mind as long as I get energy from work. So yeah, if I get asked to, I'm not very good at starting things. Once I've started things, I'm off.
Yeah.
But I like that heady bit in the middle, where it's exciting and anything could happen. So either. But obviously I must do end-to-end projects. But I like a bit of variety. So hold
Yeah.
the line. I love that.
Trouble. Watch this.
No problem. Small.
So Brexit's not been a major factor. So we'll do climate change next, because I think that social media is going to be a bigger area for us on this interview. So I mean, climate change wise, is it something that factors into your work? I mean, you could be doing a lot of green copy and things like that. Is it something, and equally, if you are doing a lot of that, you could be like, I don't want to really do much of this. Or so is it something that occurs in your work? And if so, how? And is it something that you kind of, for some people, it's already built into the design of their job? Is that kind of factor for you? Or is that just, I'm too busy working?
Again, it doesn't really factor in, to be honest. And I have clients who are very, very strongly, CSR focused, for example. So I'm sure their environmental approach sits within that, but it hasn't really directly impacted on any of the work I do. Being honest, rather than making an answer up, no, it hasn't really.
Yeah, and you're not like, I mean, you're not mining minerals or, you're not digging up mountains. You're just essentially writing copy and working with people and doing messaging and teaching them messaging. And so I mean, it's not high energy intensity. I mean, it is personally. You need a lot of sugar, I would imagine, to do this work.
It's another show. We won't even go there. We'll be here another 4 hours.
Or caffeine, or both.
Caffeine, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I forgot my own question now. What was I asking?
Green environmental development.
Oh yeah, the climate change question. Yes, I mean it's you. I guess you work from home more now. I guess you're pretty paperless.
Yes, very much so. So I am on a micro level. I do everything I can to put as little pressure on the environment as possible. And it's easy to think, well, why bother? When you've got the 1% flying around on the private jets every time they need to pop out for a pint of milk or whatever. But that is something that I am really passionate about. So I try to do things on a micro level in my own home, and in my business, to keep things like, I don't own a printer. I recycle religiously, all that stuff. Obviously I don't expect an environmental award. That's the minimum of what you should do, but it's surprising how many people literally just don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where you've got photocopiers in offices that may as well just print straight into a recycling bin, because that's how much sense the whole thing makes.
Absolutely.
And they put in printer controls of like, all right, well, we're going to cost, or you only have so many. People still just print rubbish and they don't collect.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely. That used to wind me up actually when I worked in an office.
Drives me mad. Yeah. So I mean, are you an advocate for any of that in kind of within your messaging? Do you do much internal comms, or is it very much sort of B2C, for want of a better term? Like, are you very much outward messaging, or do you do a lot of internal as well?
It depends. There's a good mix, actually. So one of my most recent jobs was to write the workforce and people strategy for an NHS trust. So that was a really nice mix. And I came from internal comms. That was my very first corporate comms job, an internal comms role. So I'm very comfortable doing internal communications, but I'd say that's probably only about a quarter of the work that I get. The majority of our work is at the moment with individual entrepreneurs or company founders, but it just goes in peaks and troughs.
I mean, internal comms is a massive one for me. Like it's really hard to find a place that I think, nails it. It's very rare, but I mean, even it's just like in the right direction and gets it mostly right. That's very, very hard to do for most organizations.
But a lot of it is about the demonstrating that you actually care about it. People will forgive a crappy, I don't know, a crappy staff magazine style, or they'll forgive, a staff briefing that's a bit clunky in terms of the tactical execution. What they want, what they care about is a sense that they're cared about, that they're being looked after. You can get away with a lot of other things if your staff feel that is genuine and authentic. And that's often what's lacking. And a lot of that is because line managers, it falls on their shoulders. You can have the best staff magazine in the world, but if your line manager's awful or uncaring, doesn't matter. And the operational pressures on sort of line managers are increasing, more and more rapidly. But but retention rates are getting higher. It's just a recipe for disaster, really. So the coaching side is as important as the tactical execution of what your internal comms look like. And that's often the biggest light bulb moment you get when you do speak to people who are leading on internal comms, who are responsible for it, whether it's the chief people officer or whoever it might be. That's when you see the light. They don't realize it. I don't know if it's because they're so close to it.
But it's the assumption, but it's because they trust the process and trust the system. I think a lot. It's that sort of, oh yes, I will do this and this thing will work, and that has been my experience in other areas, and therefore when I'm in a role in one of these underfunded, outsourced shambles, like skeleton organizations, and they're like, yes, go and do this and this will happen. And it doesn't happen because the reality is it goes into a queue. It waits for a temp to look at it. They take it out of one program, put it in another Microsoft Office program, making it highly insecure or, all of these kind of things.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, all of our processes are very solid. And it's like, there's all these fail points that you are just not aware of and not seeing, and you think all this stuff's happening and it isn't, and everybody else is seeing this not happening all along this chain.
There's sort of a fundamental belief that people are quite gullible or even stupid. Not stupid, that's too strong a word, but people see things. People at all levels of all organisations, they get it, they can see what's happening, and if they're being conned or they're being gaslit, they know, and you have to start taking that more seriously and start really caring about people and giving them the intellectual credit that's owed to them. They're the ones grafting for you day out, day in, day out. It's a lot of this is down to discretionary effort. Why would you, expend that emotional energy when your company doesn't give a shit about you? It's pretty obvious, but it seems to go over a lot of people's heads.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms, though, isn't it? So let's go into. I mean, this might be a good area. Actually, it might be quite a nice segue into this because, I mean, it's social media is the most, in many ways superficial of marketing and all of these things. It seems very image based, but there is a level at which it's very much consistency based, which is very much about character, reputation, branding, and it's about, if you're going to do it properly and seriously, about picking the right messaging and sticking to it, and, throughout to be consistent, to be authentic, so you're not just talking the talk, you're demonstrating that you're walking the walk as you're talking the talk. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does.
So for you, how much of your work is this taken up? Is this something that's kind of like blowing up into more social media work, or are you kind of more, I'm going to focus on the strategy, you take care of the posts and stuff? Do you have to do a lot of posting for yourself and getting work, or is it more of a, strategic sort of speaking to various people on LinkedIn or whatever, or various different platforms, or is it a mix of everything? Are you kind of trying to do everything?
I think you have to do everything, and I think people underestimate the value, the impact of like a post of you, a picture of you at a networking event with some awesome colleague that you've bumped into who's doing great things. Post a picture with them, talk about why, and articulate, in a way that's obviously credible, because I am a writer, why you were there, what you got out of the day. It says so much more than a selfie with another woman or a guy. It's an opportunity to tell a story every day and back up your brand identity, because everyone is a business owner. You are a brand yourself. So I don't think we should underestimate the importance of social media. And the number of clients I have who say, "Oh, I don't like posting on social media. I feel like people will think I'm a big head," or "Who does she think she is?" And I say she purposely because it's always female clients. You have to take it right back to the basics of, well, why do they feel like that, and help them feel entitled to take up that space. It's a necessary evil, and I know people think it's cringe, or it's narcissistic, but it's part of the way we do business now. You have to be present, otherwise you'll just get forgotten about.
Yeah.
So I post. I started out using Instagram more for my business, and I got my second client, which was ghostwriting a novel for a US cleaning influencer. How random! Loved that job. She just found me on Instagram using #ghostwriter, and we would have our Zoom calls between Georgia and Wakefield. But now I use LinkedIn more, because I feel like it's a more I'm not sure what the word is, but it just makes for a more professional pipeline of potential clients. And it's more of it's the best audience, really, you need to be targeting yourself towards, rather than Instagram, which is often used for sort of personal reasons. So it's a bit more hit and miss.
Yeah, and you want managers, you want budget holders, you want which you will find on Instagram, for example, but they're not gonna position themselves there as that. Whereas on LinkedIn, they position themselves as what their role is.
Yeah.
So it's easier to find them and identify them, and speak their language, because it's appropriate to speak like that on that platform.
Yeah.
And again, if you're going back to that sort of corporate voice, you don't want to be doing that on Instagram or Twitter. Well, you don't have room on Twitter. You don't want to be doing that on those platforms.
I deserted that sinking ship along a good while ago, to be fair, but yeah.
So it's best place for you, isn't it, really?
I think so, but I'm also mindful that even on LinkedIn, I still post as me. So I'm not overly corporate. I'm not overly sort of officious in the way that I speak. I'm obviously grammar has to be on point, has to be well written and engaging, but I still post as me. So I'll let the odd swear word slip, and be very Yorkshire, because that's who I am. But yeah, it definitely. I think if as a business you're gonna have one channel, it should be LinkedIn. If you're serving corporate organisations or business people.
Absolutely.
Look at this now.
I know it's looks like a Michael Bay movie.
I don't know who he is, but yeah.
Guy that did Transformers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something like an art house film or something.
No. So that's pretty much the. Well, no, I think. Do you have more to say on social media? Is there more? How do you feel about it? Was it something that you're confident into going into anyway? Because you've already had to do that work, and you're writing, copy, PR, marketing messages. So it's very much a secure world for you. It just makes sense. Or was it kind of like, I'm doing stuff that I think should be working, but it's not working, and why isn't it working? Have you had any of that kind of?
Yeah, it's definitely.
This isn't doing it in the way I want it to do it.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, when I set my my blog is now largely centered around Instagram. That's where, and Facebook. That's where I post my work, as it were. Started out with a website, but realised that was just an unnecessary layer in getting people to read what I was writing. So I started posting it in its entirety on social media. But when I started that, I just had a personal Instagram with like 80 followers or something, and I've now got over 5,000, and that is all organic, building my followers up organically, and it's a hard slog. It's a really hard slog. So I've walked the talk and sort of learned the craft going through that process to market myself and create a presence for myself. So but when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and I think I'd look back at my first post now and want to curl up in a ball. It was probably highly embarrassing. I can't remember what it was. But now I feel very confident, but it's because I've gone through that discomfort myself. I don't profess to be a social media professional because I'm not, but I do have a really good instinct for what lands well and what doesn't. Probably because I am a massive cynic. So I second guess that, and I pass that on to my clients. And I think handling a member of the NHS England board's Twitter during the pandemic, wow, that was a really...
Yeah, that's an education.
Oh, wow, it really was. And you do get a real sense of what you can say, what you can't say, what's going to land well, what isn't. Obviously, I worked with her. I didn't just do it all myself.
Yeah.
I was in quite a position of responsibility, and I'd sit on a Saturday night while, I don't know, I remember Ant and Dec being on, and being really emotional, and because it was the pandemic and they were in the studio on their own, and thanking nurses and saying thank you to people, because Twitter was a lifeline for everybody. There was a massive NHS community on there, and I'd just sit in tears and just think, what on earth is happening? And hear about all these stories of things that people were going through. It can be really meaningful, social media. And I want to be an antidote. In my blog I'm talking about now, I want to be an antidote to all the posturing you see on social media. Look at me, I've got a new flower balloon arch in my mansion, or look at me, my nail varnish matches my hand. And it makes people feel like crap. And it used to make me feel like crap. So now I'm real, and I try and show up in a way that builds a community rather than has everyone sort of sat on their own thinking my life doesn't measure up, because I've been there myself. And it's smoke and mirrors.
But it's a load of crap, isn't it? You look at someone's, they get back from somewhere and they're like, oh God, it was awful. And you're like, really? Those photos looked amazing. It's like, yeah, they did, didn't they? But the experience was crap.
Yeah.
So, because it's never really telling you the story. That's a moment.
Exactly.
That moment could mean anything. You put the story onto it.
The carousel of perfection.
And it's all imagined, it's you transposing it on, because,
No, we all do. I mean, I still do it now. I post selfies and think, you narcissistic cow. And I still do it. But, I'm trying my best overall to be an antidote to the showing off.
Yeah. I know. Doing this, loads of people hate listening to the sound of their own voice, and I'm over it now. But
like
as I'm starting to do a bit of video as well for social media, and I'm kind of like, nobody should be looking at themselves this much, which is true, but you do kind of disconnect as well. It's like you have to, because you're also being hypercritical, because you're seeing yourself in that perspective.
God,
nobody else cares as much as you, because they don't
and no one
spend
else
that
thinks
time.
it's you, do they? But that's.
But they won't even notice you, will they? There's so many faces and people and things to see that you're kind of. Yeah,
very true. I think, that's a whole other conversation that's completely out of scope for this podcast. But yeah, gosh, don't get me started on that either. I look like shit. I'm aging. I can see wrinkles. It's horrible. It's horrible when you put yourself out there.
And people don't see that because they haven't had that continuity with you. They're just like, oh, it's another face.
Wrinkled me, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look, another human face. How unusual, blends in with all the other ones that I see millions of times.
Yeah.
But somehow we all, generally, can make them distinct and So do we have any more on social media? Anything in particular that you want to kind of highlight from this or talk about in this area? Because if not,
No,
I'll
I
move
think
us.
only other thing I'd say about social media, and I touched on this earlier, is that there's a lot of, I think your brain, again, getting deeper, meaningful, but your brain looks for things to keep you safe. So if you believe that there is a lack of opportunities, you will absolutely find a lack of opportunities, and you'll see all the posts, because I do, from other copywriters saying AI has taken my job, AI is coming for us all, doom, gloom. And yeah, it might be true, but it's not going to do me any favours sitting and soaking up that type of content. I've been there. It has seeped in and impacted my mindset. So be careful. Just be careful about what you're soaking up.
Absolutely.
Curate your environment in the same way that you would in person on social media, so that you're accessing stuff that lifts you, not drags you down.
Someone put, I can't remember, if I thought about it a bit more, I probably would be able to remember the interview, but someone on here said, and they asked the question of what's your media diet at the moment?
Oh, that's a brilliant question.
And I absolutely love the way that they put that, because it is like, people don't think about it. You are putting these things in your body, in your brain, and there's no government warning or health warning. There's no filter. You just go out into the world and people are putting things in your head all the time,
Absolutely.
a corporate state, like other actors. And we don't often consider it, and we don't, not in the same way that someone, there's more awareness of like food and food labels and looking at what we're eating, and not as much as there should be, but I mean, it's more of a thing, isn't it? But with media, people don't really do that. So one of the things that I did when I went to university on my media course, one of the things they tell you about when you're doing media research is you always ask how do you think media affects other people? Because nobody thinks it affects them. It affects other people. Everybody thinks it affects other people, but it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
It affects other people. Because I know, and I'm like, I'm a thinking, critical person. It doesn't affect me.
Yeah. I'm impervious to all that.
Yeah, to the millions and millions, billions and billions that are spent on messaging to specifically get into your head, and you're impervious to it. But everyone else, they're susceptible.
Fools.
So I'm going to do the change question now. So you're a business owner now. Makes it a bit more difficult because you can change a lot of things. Also depends where you are in the business journey. So it might be more clients, more money, more office space. Might be new adventures or whatever. But if you could change any three things about your work, what would you change?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think probably stability of income would be, to have that guaranteed income. And I'm big on kind of manifestation and stuff like that. So I always have a figure in my head of what I want to earn each month. And sometimes I hit it, sometimes I don't. But yeah, to know that you were going to bring in a certain amount every month would be amazing. I'm not sure how able we are to control that, but that'll be one thing. I think this is probably a very underwhelming answer, but I'd like perhaps to change the environment in which I work. So I work in a corner. I often get people say, "Oh, what a lovely environment," but I'm actually in my living room in a kind of a section. Would traditionally be a dining room, but I've turned it into an office. But I'd really like a nicer office environment that's kind of a room in itself. I think that you can't underplay the importance of your working environment. So I'd like that. And then I think I'd like to travel a bit more, because I don't really meet my clients. I meet them on a screen, but I don't leave this corner. So if I need a bit of interaction, I'd take myself to a hotel, or I'd take myself to a coffee shop and just soak up other energies, because it's very easy to just get stale, because you've got your double screen set up. It's all very nice, but it's very isolating sometimes. So I think, but that's on me to change that maybe.
I'm with you there. Yeah, especially the sort of workspace. I mean, my workspace is terrible. If I had a health and safety assessment, I'd be closed down. I'd close myself down. Like, what are you doing to your staff member who is me?
Yeah.
And yeah, and the sort of recording online and the going back to what I was saying of like trying to kind of broaden your circle, broaden your network, and then you're like, right, I'm doing that, but or it's all through a screen now. And it's harder and obviously riskier and more expensive and takes more time to do in-person records because I don't have studio space, so I have to come out and meet someone somewhere or go to their workplace. But it's also really nice. Like, it's nice to meet someone in person and to have the conversation in person. I mean, this is fine.
Yeah.
But it would be a nicer experience to be in the same room and to, literally feel your vibe and all of that,
yeah.
sort of the energy of someone in a space.
Yeah, I would definitely have come out and met you, like, in person if I could have, because this is great, as you say, but you do get it's like a richer experience if you're actually in the same room as somebody. And one of the ways I get around that is I did join Yorkshire Businesswoman, which is a networking group. I join others sometimes as well, and oh God, I get a disproportionate amount of happiness. Every one Friday a month, I'll get dressed up and I'll go and meet them, and we have a glass of Prosecco and a bit of networking, and I absolutely love it. And I've made some amazing friends because we're all in the same boat and we all share the same, bugbears, I guess, about being a solo business owner.
Oh, it's lonely as well.
Can be. Yeah.
And I mean, even if you say you had a few staff, but you've got people around, but they're not doing your role.
No.
So you can't really talk to them about, and you're in a position of authority as hirer and all of that kind of stuff. So it's like, who do I talk to about my particular experiences, insecurities, worries, etc., or tell about I did this thing and who's going to be impressed by it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Who's going to actually understand what this means and then go, oh, that's ace, well done you.
Yeah. I do that for my daughter, so she'll come through the door and I go, blah, 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 and talk at her. She's like, Mum, you've not had a meeting this morning. So I just tell her, she's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's that thing as well. I find that if you're in the house, especially if when I would work somewhere, working at home, if I'm in the house all day on my own, especially, someone walks through the door, you're like a puppy, you're like, ooh, people, here's all the things, say all the things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my daughter laughs at me because I do that every day.
And you can't get a word out of her of what happened at school.
Yeah.
So is that 2 changes we've done, or did we get 3 there?
3, but I think 2 of them were a bit pants, to be honest. I'm trying to think of something else. Do you know, I'm really happy with my situation. I love my business. I'm really passionate about it. So it's kind of going the way I want it to go. I think maybe the only other thing is maybe have just one retainer client, and I'm working on that, because that is your anchor point, and you know that if the shit hit the fan with all your other clients, you still have that safety point. Yeah, it's not 100% secure, but you've got that longevity and that window of a comfort zone if anything was to change. So I think I'd build in another retainer client, and as I say, that's something I'm trying to do at the moment for my own peace of mind.
I'm going to ask you a question that I don't normally ask, but in terms of, feel free to not answer it, and again, we can cut it out if we need to. But in terms of your long-term thinking, and just at the moment, it doesn't have to be like this is a set plan. It's just like feeling or whatever, what you're feeling in this regard. The exit of the business, is it something that would close with you, or is this something that you would build out? And you might not be in a position to say either way at this point, but I'm thinking like in yourself, in your sense of feeling. Like, so I'm at a point with this where I'm kind of like, ideally, it'd be nice if I could sell the Western Studios bit onto something. If I'd made it into something and then could sell it as something to someone else, would be nice. Whether I get there or anywhere near it is a different matter, but that's kind of where I am with it. So I'm just kind of, what is your feeling? Is this something that's just for you and it will kind of finish with you, or is this something that could be more than that?
At the moment, I see it as very much just for me. I see myself working until I'm 90. So it's a bloody good job. I enjoy what I do, but I also see it morphing into perhaps something else. I'd like to get into the dream was always actually to make money from writing for myself and using my presenting skills and things like that. You have to do those for the exposure when you first start, and I'm sort of beyond that now. So I'd like to perhaps see the work that I do morph into more presenting, speaking, paid writing commissions, that kind of thing, because they feel sometimes lighter as I suppose as you get older and you maybe want to work slightly less. They're not classed as work to me. They're just things that I do for enjoyment. So, but other than that, no, I'm happy to keep doing this I'm seeing it for the next 15 years, maybe. I'm 50 this year, which pains me to say, but I am. But I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I think the aspiration for a lot of people is retire early, but I wouldn't know what to do. If I retired, I'd be lost. I would be lost. I love work so much.
I mean, retirement's a whole. I mean, it's very weird that there isn't a debate about it or a healthy debate or anything. It's this sort of. It's one of those areas that's weirdly flat. Of like, all right, everyone's living longer, but that's debatable. But the sort of so everyone's living longer and they're being kept alive by the healthcare system, which needs more costs, which needs more money to keep more people alive. And there's a bigger cohort of people who are older than younger and all of these kind of demographic areas. I'm going somewhere with this, but I think I've lost my point.
It's retiring later.
Well, it's also, what is the retirement? And so again, going back to COVID, loads of people who were retired medical professionals who came back in to help. And there's, you can have the moral quandary arguments about whether this is right or good or this, that, and the other. But the fact of the matter is that that's something that happened. And, people who are retired, who go on and they're doing other careers or they become consultants or mentors or whatever. And it's that, what is the retirement and what function does that serve? Is that just, you've done your time, like a prison sentence, and now you've got out and you're free? Or is it, you're now being put out to pasture because you're you're too old and infirm and you're past it now, you go over there. And should it be one or the other? Should it be, I personally, I think it's one of those things where it's like you should have the option if you want to, if you've done so many decades of working, you're done, you're out if you want to be out. Also, if you want to still be involved in stuff and you feel like you've got stuff to give and that people want, then why should you take that away from yourself and also from the society at large? And
I think there must be a way for the government to make that work for everyone, because the unpaid carers, things like that, there must be a way for the government to fill skills gaps with willing, mature people who want to keep working.
Well, I mean, sorry, go on. You say that again, because I was.
That was it. It's just, why aren't the government sort of thinking about the bigger picture and using that section of the workforce who might want to go back in, who are mature people who want to go back in, to fill gaps? Yeah,
and to upskill and to educate. Yeah. I mean, it's like, why aren't we? Why aren't we paying for all sorts of stuff? And all of this punitive benefits nonsense. It's like, what do you offer? I remember when the first time I signed on in the 80s, you got courses. You got a free bus pass for a start, so you could get to bloody interviews and stuff like that. And you got discounts elsewhere because you were on a pittance. and you didn't have to spend money every week going in out of the pittance that they gave you. And you had training courses available. And if you went on the training courses, you got extra, especially if you turned up. I mean, it wasn't massive, but there was an incentivization there. And before that, there was a labor exchange, which was like a recruitment thing of like, there are all these jobs. We need people doing this. Why can't that be done? Why do you have to have some nonsense waiting? Why aren't these jobs being offered to people and saying you have these skills? Maybe you should be. Do you know what I mean? There's no linkage. There's no strategy. There's no thought. There's no
just a
carry through.
Really, it's just a transaction that. No, it could be definitely done in a more clever way that gets actual tangible results rather than just going through a process.
Yeah, I mean, we should be training people left and right now.
Yeah,
that's where the money should be going. Invest in people.
Yeah.
So on that, I'll move us to UBI. So, universal basic income. Are you familiar with this idea? You've heard of it before?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, if there was a universal basic income, how do you think that might change your work? The only thing that I can think of is it would give you a bit of that regularity and depending on how much it is as well, but there would be something there in that retainer kind of way.
Yeah, I think that's the only way I could see it. Yeah, changing anything. It's not something I've really even thought of. But what I would say is to have, I think when you get to a certain age, you start to enjoy a certain lifestyle, and I don't think I'm massively materialistic, but I do like a certain way of living, and I've worked my arse off since I was 15 to attain a certain way of living. But in order to maintain that, you do have to be earning really good money, and I think people in power underestimate what you need to earn to have a good life.
Yeah, and what people actually earn. And then it's not just people in power, it's like landlords. It's like, how much do you think people are getting paid?
Yeah, I know.
Do you think everyone's on $5,000 a month? Because I'll tell you, they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's just a case of thinking of the bigger picture governmentally, and I don't think that's happening. And I think there's a section of society that's just being forgotten, and a lot of them are working. And they're excluded from things, and they can't afford to have a nice life. They can't afford to do nice things with the children. Can't afford to get public transport. I just think it's horrible and really heartless, and that's one of the things that depresses me. And I think anyone who works, and obviously I appreciate there is a section of society that are unable to work, and they should get looked after. That's patronising. I don't mean it like that. They should be okay as well, but
they shouldn't be forced into doing something they don't want to do. So I think we can agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. But also the section of society that do work, but yet they're not. They're working for nothing. They're on a hamster wheel, and I hate that. And that's one of the things that I think obviously the universal basic income will hopefully ease. But I don't know. I don't know if it will.
But I think we're in this very weird situation where, you've got sort of Dickens level deprivation, and to a degree that's always been there, but like on a large scale, but at the same time, because there's shiny mobile phones and jet airplanes, everyone's like, oh, well, it's fine. And it's like, it's not fine. Really not fine. There's lots of really not fine. And plus loads of it you don't see. There's loads of stuff that you'll see on the news of like, oh, this is really bad and we condemn this. And meanwhile, there's towns completely dead up and down the country. Like, and I like literally dead. Everything's closed, shuttered. There's nothing there. Like even like all the people are left in some instances. And it's like, and you don't see that.
No, no. Massive missed opportunities everywhere you look.
Have you ever taken proper time off, do you think? Or would you? Like, do you think there's a point at which you would be like, right, this is a rest that I need? Or does it have to be, would you just feel too guilty and you're just like, I just need to be working?
I take holiday. I mean, Was it last summer? I took a week off and I was really strict. I put an out of office on my email, and I let all my clients know I will not be reading any messages. I did, I think once, but that was the first, that was the first time I'd ever been so intentional about having proper time away. I don't see myself ever saying I'm going to take a month off to read.
Yeah.
No, I can't see that happening ever. But it's because I love my work, so I don't feel that bothered about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But I do also feel you have to be aware of that burnout can creep up on you as well. I was ill for, I think I was off work. I was still in the NHS at this point, and trying to build my business up. Last year, I think I was ill for about 8 weeks, and I was suspected glandular fever. And I had to step back then. I just had to. I couldn't work, and it panicked me, and I didn't know what to do. But I suspect that might have been a little bit of burnout, maybe. But other than that, no. I try to really look after myself. I try to stay fit and strong and eat well, and because I'm aware I'm getting older as well. So if I want to keep the pace, I'm going to have to put the work in to stay resilient. I guess the answer to that is no. I don't think I'm taking any massive period of time off. But if it ever started to feel like a drag, I probably would.
Yeah, if you weren't enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that as well. I can see you getting to the point of going, like, and especially if it goes really well and you manage to get like a decent lump sum there, you got some bank, and you're kind of like, do you know what? I'm kind of done. Like, I've been flat out for years, and I'm actually a bit tired now, and I'm going to take some me time.
Yeah.
Like, I can see that happening without you feeling guilty about it, sort of thing. And then, like, but then you'd probably get bored. You'd probably be like, do you know what? I'm bored now. I need to do something.
Or worse, I might really like it and then not want to go back to work. I mean, that would be a shocker, but.
But, you know, I mean, it's not a moral failing there.
No, I know. I think someone's tied up in your identity about work. It is with me. I think I've romanticized work a lot, and I'm very proud of how the life I've created for myself through work and work alone. You know, when I left my marriage, I was massively in debt, and I'm now in a really, really good place. You know, in every sense, financially, spiritually, whatever, physically, I'm in a much better space than I've ever been in before. So, and that's a lot of that is thanks to work. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this project was a lifeline, really, because it's just something, you know, it's something to do and get on with.
That's it.
That was meaningful to me.
Yes.
That I could rely on and come back to and you know, struggle with, fight and fail at.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and fail at repeatedly. Which I think has been a really important thing for me. Because it's sort of, you know, I quite often don't try, and when I have tried on occasion, it's worked out sometimes, and I'm kind of like, yeah.
It should.
Yeah, it should. It should. What else do I want to say on this regard? No, I don't think I have anything else on this. So this is a point where I throw it over to you to talk about anything that you might want to talk about, or if you want to ask any questions, or if you want to shout about something in particular. This is a point where you could do that, but while you have a think about anything that could be or not be, where do people find you? What are your socials? If you've got them to hand, let's have them. If not, I'll put them just in the show notes.
Yeah, so the website address is Write for You. So it's write as in write a word, for as in the word, not the number, you as in the full. God, I'd never call my business For You with a number and a letter. That's so cringe. So writeforyou.site, that's the website. And then I'm Claire Kenny on LinkedIn. And the Instagram is writeforyou444. Because that's my hippie side coming in there. We'll maybe talk about that another time. And then my blog which is how people, I suppose, if they're interested in some of the topics I've talked about, starting again, rebuilding after divorce, that kind of thing. That's called My 40 Plus Life, and it's on Instagram as my40pluslife.me. So I'm all over the place.
Excellent. And as I will put, as usual, all of those in the show notes.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to talk about? Anything that you're burning to get off your chest right now? Or are you quite happy with where we've got to?
I think I'm happy. Yeah, I think so. I do want to give a shout out to, I'm doing a little bit of a PR for recovery runners. I know we've been in touch, you recall them from something you've done previously anyway.
Yes.
But I'm passionate about Leeds. I'm so passionate about Leeds because it's my city. I don't live in Leeds at the moment, but my aspiration is to move back into Leeds in some capacity. But recovery runners are a running group that was set up by Dean and Jamie, who are in recovery from alcoholism. And it was originally set up for people in the same situation they were, but it's now just become this fantastic community where people meet once a week and just go for a run, and that's it. Have a coffee. It's open to anyone. And that sort of ties into the blog, really, where I've written a lot about loneliness, aloneness, rediscovering what you enjoy, particularly at a more mature age. And I'm always keen to fly the flag for groups like recovery runners or opportunities where people can get that social connection, where they're not sure where to start. They might be sat at home on their own at the weekend thinking, well, what can I do? I don't know where to start. There's always somewhere. So that's one thing. And things like park runs and, just keen to try and use the platform I have, albeit small. I'm not Kim Kardashian, but I do have a bit of a platform online, and I'm keen to use that to raise awareness of things like recovery runners, and hopefully they're going to be coming on as well.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at your numbers, but I mean, you said yourself that on this that your Instagram's over 5,000, and it's not easy to get that without
selling your soul.
If you don't buy a load of fake AI
God no,
followers and all of this other rubbish, or get ripped off a million times, or make them all up, or But when you've actually gone through it and got actual followers to follow you, and you do have a bit of a platform with that. That's quite a big audience. If you sold out a show to 5,000 people, it's a lot of people to get to a place and back from a place. So it is a platform, and it is an audience, and there's lots of stuff to promote as well, and it's good to get involved in the kind of interesting good causes as well, so that it's not just something that's there's lots of places, I'm waffling now. I'm going to shut up.
I understand where you're coming from there.
So, my voice is starting to go as well.
I think we have talked a lot. I mean, I don't think I've ever been interviewed for this long.
It's pretty comprehensive, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah, which is definitely a good thing.
Well, part of it is to give people space and a bit of a platform themselves of just come and talk. You don't get that many opportunities, and especially, you get opportunities to say things, but not necessarily to talk and expand on your points and kind of deliver everything you want to say, which is part of what I want to do here. And thank you for the opportunity for me to do that as well. It's really nice. I felt really listened to, which is also very nice and unique in our time of being addicted to screens. Yeah. And a lot of people are kind of like, well, everyone's here to listen to me, whereas I'm like, well, I'm more interested in listening to you. I've heard everything I have to say.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that good that everybody else needs to hear it. So, So thank you very much for doing this. And it's been great to chat to you today. And as I say, all of the information for Claire, links and so on to get in touch will be in the show notes. And thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you again to Claire for being my guest. Thanks, as always, to all my guests. And thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. You can find Claire at LinkedIn, linkedin.com/IN/Claire-Kenny, or on Instagram, instagram.com/my40pluslife.me. Link in the show notes. If you'd like to contact me about anything working hours related, then you can email me about the show at, say it with me, workinghouspod@western-studios.com. Don't forget the free Working Hours podcast episodes won't be around anymore after we've got to 200 episodes. So there's currently about 25 free podcast places left for people to grab an episode of Working Hours to themselves for free, just as everybody else has done. So any episodes coming after 200 will need to be paid for by someone, not me. Don't forget to hit that donate button on the player if you're listening on the Captivate website. And if you're not, go to our Ko-fi page and chuck in whatever you can afford to help us pay our debts. Okay, that's me. Remember, listener, no matter what you do, it's impossible for you to understand anything that your salary depends on you not understanding. So try to work for peace and try to plan with kindness. Raise your voice, but reduce your impact. Cheers, ears. Take care out there and be kind to each other, Leeds. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited, created and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Remember Western Studios Leeds Limited when you're ready to start making your content in West Yorkshire. Follow Western Studios Leeds on Facebook, facebook.com/Western_Studios_Leeds, and on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. Bookmark western-studios.com so you can see the latest prices and use my contact page to drop me a message about your own podcast project or working hours at any time from anywhere. Maybe you want or need a podcast host, co-host or narrator for your podcast project. Maybe you just need another voice for one or more episodes of your show. Podcasts are so much more than gossip, book promotions and marketing for online courses. Podcasts and other audio content get your online brand out there. Want to make some fundraising case studies? Want to have an audiobook or video course? Want to share your learning, knowledge and expertise in your field? Want to learn, teach or raise awareness of something general or particular? Want to improve internal comms with messages your staff might actually engage with? Or do you just want to brighten up the world with some entertaining content? Then make a podcast. If you're making your podcast within West Yorkshire, then think about making it with western-studios.com. Whatever your podcast questions or needs, get in touch with Western Studios Leeds.